Okay? You need to ask questions. The most fundamental part of being a human, and the most fundamental human right of all, is to ask questions. Why, how, what for? Fundamental questions that help you resolve ideas and problems and create solutions. You have to ask yourselves, why did Joe Biden, or why wasn't a American Negro chosen as a runner with Joe Biden? Why wasn't there going to be an American Negro female or male running as vice president with Joe Biden? Well, there has to be a reason for it, and you have to look at Joe Biden's record. He thinks that, and he's said, he thinks all black people think alike, which means he doesn't know any black Africans. That's the clue there. He doesn't know. He knows Obama become president, but I doubt if he had many conversations with Obama. Obama might be a supporter, but he's a supporter for an agenda. He'll just say anything, and that's for certain. But when Biden has said what he said about blacks, if you're black, you've got to vote for Dems and all that sort of thing, and you can't make up your own mind. There's even white women saying, "Oh, you're black. You are black. You've got to vote for Dems. You can't vote for Trump because you're black." Why? I mean, Trump's got some black people running for his party. I mean, I don't know how many there are, but what is he saying about those people that are black that are running for Trump? And fine ladies they are as well. One day they may be president. So it's not that there aren't brilliant black African Americans, and they're just Americans really, but to identify them, it's not that there aren't people with enough qualities and capability to be another Democratic president. There are plenty of fine speakers amongst them, females and males. Why was Joe Biden, who's about as sophisticated as a rock or a frog, no sophistication whatsoever, no world-wise, he knows very little about the world, he's hardly read a book about the world, you can sort of tell that. And he's pushing a socialist agenda when everyone knows by now socialism is a disaster for the human race. Wherever it goes, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for those people who don't go along with it, then become an enemy within society. And that's what the Dems have done. Use Trump to create enmity within the American society over what mostly is fiction. Because Trump's not a racist. Joe Biden is a racist. It has the most cynical con of all time. But Joe Biden is such a racist against black Americans, he didn't want one. He didn't know any to have a conversation with. They could nominate and say, "Hey, you want to be my runner, want to be the vice president?" He didn't want one. Or the Dems did not want a black American in the Oval Office if Biden had to retire because he can become too ill to carry on, which is always a chance that someone at his age can. You never know, because that's all of us. We never know when sometimes we're going to become too ill to carry on. And Joe Biden, it doesn't look awfully strong. He doesn't look like he might be sort of physically robust, but he tires very easily and he loses his thread. He sounds like a stoner when he talks, like you think he's had maybe a few bongs of good dope or something before he goes up, and then he forgets what he's talking about. But I digress. But the thing is, there's a clue to why Kamala Harris, who's not actually a black American, she's black and she's American, but she's not the sort of, when they talk about Black Lives Matter, I'm sure they're not talking about Indians, who are doing rather well, they're rather wealthy. They're not the poor blacks of America are not Indians. And we look at the poor Indians in wherever they migrate to the world, the hardest working, most best business people on earth, probably next to the Chinese, and they also do rather well because they're actually highly intellectual as well. So they've got a philosophy, and they're pragmatic and practical. The Indians are very clever people. So the Black Lives Matter thing, promoting all that, then choosing someone from that background contradicted everything, all the propaganda about Black Lives Matter. If it really wasn't a racist, he could have chosen, there must be plenty of black people who know what the problems of black people are, without being hubristic, without being bombastic or creating enmity against anyone else. There are plenty of intellectual blacks on both sides could have run as a co-runner with Joe Biden if they're being really serious about representing what is called the real black America in the White House, because no one thinks of Indians or people from that part of the world as the black America that BLM is supposed to sort of be for. It's actually a very darkly cynical agenda to make sure blacks think they're being suppressed by whites and that, but it's obviously there's plenty of blacks out there who are doing rather well and don't want a bar of it. They want to make it on the world as an individual human, and the colour really doesn't matter to them. It might be an advantage to them actually in some way. So, you know, this side of black is not a disadvantage. It may be actually an advantage for some reasons in some aspects of life anywhere. To say it's a disadvantage, I think it's a family problem that gives people a disadvantage, black or white, or Hispanic, or wherever the people come from. A poor family background and poor education, it leaves most people a problem through their life regardless of colour. And I think that's what the problem is in America. A very poorly educated people with poor parenthood has created this massive people who think the Democrats are going to save them because they're missing a family. They must be missing something in their background what gives them that sort of primordial need to be a collective and not think for themselves and think Mama and Papa somewhere which is in the White House are all going to save them. Instead of being on the other side where the sensible and logical people think, well, I've got to save myself by my own behaviour. It's the philosophy matters, no matter what colour you are. And Joe Biden hasn't chosen a black American, African American, because he doesn't know any. Because he's a racist against that particular part of the American society. Make up your own mind about all this, but it's deeply cynical by the Democrats, that's for certain.